All right, interesting column, and we've talked about this before. Brian Lilly in The Sun. Hundreds of people charged with murder while on bail. Further proof of the Prime Minister's revolving door bail system. And goes on to say that a question submitted by Conservative Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman asked the government how many people have been charged with homicide while out on bail or another type of release. In 2022, 256 people on some sort of release. That equates to 29% of all homicides. People were out on bail. It obviously speaks to the problem on bail that we've been speaking about repeatedly, says Conservative MP Frank Caputo during an interview. He's here now to talk to us. He's the Member of Parliament for Kamloops, Thompson Caribou, Associate Shadow Minister for Justice in here now. Frank Caputo, thanks for the time. Hope you're well.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Pleasure to be here.
So, Frank, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Everybody is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. What's the problem here? Isn't this the normal transition of things, the law working its way through?
Well, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, and you do have a constitutional right to bail on reasonable terms. But like all constitutional rights, that right is limited, and when protection of the public is greater than and the person's risk is substantial, then the law should be stepping in to say your risk is so high to commit a violent offense that bail should be denied. Now, we have bail on the books, and we've got sentencing provisions on the books, but the Liberals, through Bills C5 in this Parliament and C75 in the last Parliament, have really watered down a lot of the bail and sentencing principles, and I think that a lot of the blame for this lays directly at the feet of Justin Trudeau as a result.
How have they been watered down?
Well, for instance, with Bill C5, a number of firearms offenses, some of which had stiff mandatory minimums that were actually upheld by the courts, for instance, like drive-by shootings, robbery with a firearm, extortion with a firearm, jail was replaced with the potential for house arrest. I'm sorry, if you are committing an offense in Canada with a gun, particularly a handgun, that is for no other reason than to hurt people, and house arrest just isn't appropriate. Bill C-75, what it did is it looked at some Supreme Court of Canada decisions, and sometimes it's up to Parliament to say, look, the court has spoken and we're going to respond. Rather than responding, the government simply, the term is codified what the courts had said. Sometimes that's appropriate, sometimes it's not. When we have a problem with bail, as you have highlighted in my view, then it's time for Parliament to respond. Parliament didn't respond, and now we're in the mess that we have before us.
We hear there's issues whether the person is a repeat offender or a first-time offender. Should there not be different variations of this depending upon if they have a history of this?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And I want to emphasize, too, Scott, that we are dealing with a very small group of people, but they're very efficient when it comes to violent crime. We're not talking about 98% of offenders. Our leader, Pierre Poilievre, has talked about that, about second chances for a number of people. But when you have people, for instance, that are on weapons prohibitions, and those weapons prohibitions have now become nothing more than a piece of paper from what I've seen. When you're having people who have consistently committed violent crime, consistently committed firearms offenses, or on another vein, sexual offenses, in my view, we shouldn't be having the same test for those people. I think we need to ratchet it up. It's something I attempted to do in a private member's bill, Bill C-313, after the alleged killing of Constable Pierre Poilievre. I thought that the system needed to be different for people that were on firearms prohibitions. So, yes, certainly when we're dealing with repeat violent offenders, we need something different. And that's why Pierre Poilievre has frequently cited that exact category of offender that we should be targeting.
Do you see this changing or the attitude changing? And the reason I'm saying that, Frank, is, we just heard, obviously in the last several weeks, months, lots of chatter about auto theft in southern Ontario and the greater Toronto Hamilton area and such, carjackings, violent crimes, whatever. And all of a sudden, boom, we've got a summit on car theft and such, and we find out again that I don't know if it's majority, but certainly a great number of people who were arrested in this crackdown were released on bail. Do you see, obviously, the government kind of backtracked on there, as you said, made the suggestions of C5 and C75, however, are now holding summits on car theft and trying to stop that. It seems like you were closing the door after the horses left.
Certainly, we need to stop summiting and start legislating. At the end of the day, we've got a system that is deficient. And it is, you can see with the statistics, it's remarkable, Scott, when we look at these statistics. Violent crime up 39% under Justin Trudeau. Murders up 43%. Gang-related homicides up 108%. Violent crime up 101%. These aren't numbers where we're debating statistical significance. These are substantial numbers. We don't need another summit. We need to change the laws to start protecting people. Innocent people are getting hurt. Innocent people are getting killed. People don't want to walk outside. I can tell you, and I mean, I was a former prosecutor. I did some defense work too. I worked as a parole officer, and I can tell you that people in British Columbia, anyways, that might not even have run a bail hearing 5 or 6 years ago because it was just assumed they would be detained, are now being released as a matter of course. So I can say anecdotally that the system has changed. I know that some people may not agree with me, or some in the defense bar may not agree with me, or perhaps they would say that the system was too light. But we have these statistics, but more concretely, we have people, and they are probably calling into your show, I would imagine, or they're writing to me or writing to others saying, we have a problem. It's up to us. When the population comes to us and says, we've got a problem, it's up to Parliament to act. The people are begging for action, and the Liberals are sitting on their hands. How do we fix this? And do we have the resources to fix this? Do we have the judges, the courtrooms, the time, the staff, the enforcement, the jails? Do we have enough to actually do this, considering our population increasing and such, and just lack of general services? Do we have the resources to do this? Well, you raise a very good point. I mean, obviously, the administration of justice is an issue for the provinces, and I know that various provinces have gone through this. There's money that's wisely spent. There's money that's frivolously spent. With this liberal government, we have seen money not frivolously spent, flat out wasted into the billions of dollars. So when it comes to public safety, to me, it's a non-negotiable that we do these things. I've been to jails where the whole wings have been shut down. I've visited a number of penitentiaries, including the penitentiary where Paul Bernardo was held. I visited 2 penitentiaries probably in May where they had whole units that were shut down. So I'm not sure if it's resources. I don't know. I know that people have to get to trial sooner. I'm not saying that the system is perfect, because in British Columbia, for instance, a number of people are sitting on remand. So it's not a perfect system. It does require a whole system approach. But when it comes to public safety, we need to stop the crime, which is one of our 4 priorities that Mr. Poilievre has outlined.
Frank Caputo with us, Member of Parliament for Kamloops, Thompson Caribou, Associate Shadow Minister for Justice, talking about bail and those that are out on committing serious crimes after first, second, third offenses and such. Frank, thanks for the time and insight. Much appreciated. Be well.
Thank you, Scott. All the best to you.